This is the 210th episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the third week of March 2015. This episode is titled Lightning Strikes. CloudFocus Weekly is brought to you by The Permissioner by Arkus. Mass assign and revoke Salesforce permission sets. It truly is permission sets made easy. Available for free on the App Exchange, or go to thepermissioner.com. Which, by the way, will just bring you right to the App Exchange, but it's easier than remembering anything else. Just go to thepermissioner.com. I'm your host, Jason Atwood. Joining me, co-host 210 times in a row, fresh off a lovely St. Patrick's Day. Tip of the hat to you, Justin Edelstein.
Didn't we have some good corned beef yesterday?
We celebrated a tiny little bit. We went to a place that served meats.
Lots of delicious,
and we had corned
meats.
Beef.
And they made corned beef.
And then in the elevator, someone said, "Good night, lads."
Oh, that was fun.
And that was about as Irish as we got the entire day.
It was like, "Good night, lad."
Good night, lads.
Oh,
thanks.
Good night to you too, laddie. It was pretty cool. I didn't know people called people lads these days.
At a ripe age of 42, I'm very happy anybody's calling me lad.
Yeah.
Laddie would have been a bit better. Good night, laddie.
Laddie.
Take it outside, laddie.
Laddie,
That's
daddy.
terrible. I'm not going to do my impressions.
Well, you're not. I mean, you're just doing your impression of this guy who was on the elevator.
And he was decked.
He was. He had a top hat on.
He had a top. Well, or did he have that like crazy hat you wear?
Yeah, he had that like Irish cap that I wear.
That I make fun of.
Which is super stylish, and you make fun of.
Yes, all 50-year-old Irish people on St. Patrick's Day wear that hat.
Because you're super stylish with every
my
shirt.
Hoodie.
You know what? That's like one of the only shirts you wear that doesn't have a logo on it.
That's true. Well, I have two logos I wear in my life. I wear the Jets logo and the Arkus logo. Occasionally the MVP.
And like
MVP.
Bud Light.
No.
Your
no.
jacket has a Bud Light
Go
logo
try to
on
find it. It's disappeared.
Just because you took a Sharpie to the Bud Light logo doesn't mean it's gone.
Listen, just because I get free stuff from the NFL that has my Jets logo and a Bud Light logo, and I get rid of the Bud Light logo, does not mean that I wear a Bud Light logo.
Yes, it does.
And I guess occasionally, like Nike. I'm wearing Nike.
Well, that doesn't count. You can't. Get
and all
away.
my running
You can't
gear.
You can't really get away with it with sneakers.
I generally don't try to wear logos, except for my own. Like I wear my own logo.
You generally wear everything that you wear has a logo on it.
But my logo, meaning I don't wear I don't wear other people's logos. You know what I'm saying? Like I generally only wear like logos that I'm invested in. How's that?
Okay.
Right? I don't generally wear, again, it's Jets, Arkus, and Salesforce are pretty much the only three logos you'll ever find on me. True?
Yeah.
All right. So that's it. Let's see. Arkus, the company that pays my salary. Salesforce, the thing I do for 12 hours a day. And Jets, my one and only true passion.
I'm going to go put my Salesforce Heisenberg hat on.
All right. Here it comes. It's coming down off of the Google/Salesforce.
Remember when those two companies worked together the way Microsoft and Salesforce work together these days?
Oh, foreshadowing. Don't give away our entire agenda.
Good, wasn't it?
So let's get to our agenda. So we have what is likely to be called a boatload of blog posts that have built up.
Blog load.
A blog load. So we will discuss all three of them in light fare because we have some late breaking news, so late, so breaking that I have no idea about it. And Justin started to tell me about it in the beginning before we got on the show. And I was like, by the way, I just referred to this as the show.
It is the show.
It is the show.
It has at least 5 listeners.
At least 5. And my father's one of them. So funny story. My father was on a podcast. Wow, sorry, 210, almost 5 years. I still do it.
5.
He was on almost 5 years, this podcast.
This one.
Yeah, well, the other one, I don't think we talk about blogs ever.
Oh, yeah,
so there you go. So he was on a podcast, and it was an interview of him, and it was actually kind of interesting. So I tweeted it. If you can find it on my Twitter feed somewhere. I think I said, like father, like son. Anyway, and, he sent
Everyone
it to me
just stopped listening and went to go find that one.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's on the interwebs. It's
What's
anyway.
that? What's this thing you say?
It's on the interwebs. So I listened to it. It's kind of interesting. It was about his start as a career in television at a channel in Boston called WGBH, which is a nonprofit public station. Anyway, really interesting, especially for me, again, listening to your father kind of tell his history stuff that you don't sit and sort of have the conversation with your dad about. So when I shot back, I'm like, oh, that was nice that you're on a podcast. here's the 500 episodes of the podcast I've been on.
Right.
And shout out to our two podcasts, which I think is 210 plus 230, so 200, 440, 50 something right about now. Anyway, so he now texts me while he's listening to this one, and he's like, "Ooh, 209. I like Apple TV."
What's not to like about Apple TV?
So true.
Actually, there's one thing not to like about Apple TV.
Well, but let me just finish out this entire thought.
Did you?
But now it's a little strange because now I know he's listening to these words.
Well, you better not talk about him like you did in episode 184.
Oh, my father abandoned me. 182 called Abandonment.
Abandonment
This
issues.
episode is brought to you by Abandonment Issues. Sorry, Dad. Anyway, moving on. Do you have any family members who listen to the podcast?
No.
Friends? I mean, I know you don't have
Not
friends.
this one.
The other ones, you have friends listen to it?
Yeah.
Like friends?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
They find us amusing.
do they give you like crap afterwards?
No, they like it, and they're not even fans of the thing that we're
That
doing.
the show is
they
about.
Just listen to it because they actually just find us amusing.
Oh, that's funny.
Which is nice. That's actually a better compliment.
It is, because the content's crap. Total crap.
Like yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's more rambling than what we're doing now.
Yeah.
We've been rambling on for a
6
while.
minutes. 6 minutes of pure ramble.
Pure nothing.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get to our blog posts. These are all at blog.arkusinc.com.
Which one are we starting with?
We're gonna go the least to the most.
Light integration with Salesforce using data
Nope,
loading
that's
tools?
not the first one. The first one is the benefit of using survey tools,
Oh, there it is. The benefits of using survey tools.
which is published on March 4th. So that was
Wow.
before March 10th. I know.
we haven't talked about
some blog
blogs
posts in a while. That's right. So this one, published by an Arkite, kind of, because we get this question a lot, and I'm sure there's a billion blog posts about this, and you're the blog master, so maybe you set this up. But basically, we get a lot of questions about survey tools. It's something that Salesforce has never built into their system, but there's a lot of App Exchange products that do it, everywhere from very free ones to less free ones to good ones. So this was just sort of a take of kind of two things. One is, why would you use them? What use cases would you use them?
As the title would suggest.
Right. The benefits of using. And then kind of listing off a couple of them and giving some, giving links to their App Exchange and giving the pricing. I'm not going to go through them. You should go read the blog post, but I mean, I think I have clients who use all of these. The big one that Salesforce is using now is what? Get Feedback?
That's the one.
That's the one they use. Do they have any ownership in that? Do we know?
A former Salesforce employee, a top guy.
Right.
Gosh, his name is escaping me, but he's Craig Swensford, I think it was. He was one of the guys who
was on the social side, wasn't he?
No, he was on the product side, and he would be one of the guys who would be demonstrating the product during Dreamforce keynotes.
Right.
He'd be like, bring on Craig to talk about the Sales Cloud.
Right.
Back when they talked about the product during the
And
keynotes.
that's the Sales Cloud.
And that's the Sales Cloud, exactly. Or that's the Service Cloud.
Right.
So I think he left and started it, and then I think it was bought, but not by Salesforce. But it was built in a way that was very Salesforce-y, right? It was API first, mobile optimized.
Was it social?
Not so social,
Could
maybe
you
open mobile social.
Could you run it on your phone, on your watch?
I don't know if you could run it on your wrist, but someone invested pretty heavily in it, maybe even bought it outright. But it's the one that Salesforce has been using a lot lately. I think they use a lot of tools. I know that they used to use click tools for everything.
So a couple that she didn't mention, I'm just going to throw out there because she didn't mention them. So give them some. One is actually you can use. It's not a true survey, but kind of a way of collecting data. Google Forms is actually pretty easy, and you set up a form. You say dump it into this spreadsheet, which I know then you have to pull in, but pretty quick to set up a little form. And I know Salesforce uses that to collect data if they want to collect feedback on something. So Google Forms, great way to do that. And then she didn't mention Timba surveys.
No, she didn't mention Timba surveys,
which is a very old one, like been around for a long time, always been free, and I think we have released in 2009. So, that's one she didn't mention. Has 297 reviews. So definitely, I would give that one a look as well.
We've also done implementations of Live Agent, where with Live Agent, you can have pre-chat and post-chat pages or forms.
Right.
So you can create your own little post-chat survey app, not really using any particular tool per se, but just using a visual force page.
So that is the benefits of using survey tools on blog.arkusinc.com. Next up is light integration with Salesforce using data tools. Data loading tools.
Data tools?
Data tools.
Data integration.
Black leather gloves.
I'm just looking at the picture for the post, and it's kind of a funny one.
Yes.
Two street signs, data and integration.
All pointing the same direction. So it's very important. So this one, less talking about it because it's a little bit more technical. It's really talking about how you can do, there's different levels of integration. In fact, I was talking to someone the other day, and I said, have you ever done an integration with Salesforce? And they kind of rattled off a few things that were not integration or were kind of light integration. So we kind of, there are integrations. There's real-time integrations. There's sort of batch, integration of data. And then there's what we're calling light integration, which means that basically the light side of it is that there's some manual piece in the middle, right? You're kind of having to do something to get the data, but you've kind of built it so it can happen repeatedly, but you still got to do a little work. So what we call a light integration, not a full-blown ETL, like I was working on this morning with processes and messages and scripting languages, all sorts of stuff. So anyway.
And this one's all about data and not so much about, the other side of light, I'm air quoting, integration is an example of popping somebody over to a website with some filled in parameters in the URL.
The Google search on leads.
The Google search or Google Maps or Google News or LinkedIn or what have you.
Right. Light integrations.
Very light integrations where, sure, it's passing some data through a URL because we're on the internet to go find something in some other system as opposed to building it in as a Canvas app or, an API call. It's going to bring data into a page right in line within Salesforce and let you actually interact with it there.
Right. And she definitely throws up some of the sort of, again, lighter in terms of the little more free versions of cloud integrators, the Apex Data Loader, Data Loader IO, and Jitterbit, which are kind of the three that kind of sit in the, hey, these things are pretty good for what they do. They can be a little bit scheduled and they can do a lot for a little bit of money. And then they kind of scale up from there. In fact, I think we were talking to a client the other day, and I suggested she take a look at one of these because it's like they think they might be able to handle it. You don't have to go far down the path of paying for ETLs, which can actually add up. They can be pretty expensive. So that one's there, and that's at blog.arkusinc.com. And lastly, and this is grab hold of your browser or your bandwidth before you go and take a look at this. This is the first time I think we've ever done this, and the blogger, who will never be named, well, I guess I'm looking at the screenshots and it has his name all over it.
Or if you just go read the blog.
Well, there's screenshots because he's taking screenshots. The blogger wanted to do, this is called Go Lightning Fast with Process Builder, following up on the Lightning Developer Week. That was last week, or was the week before?
Last week.
And so basically looking at the Lightning Process Builder and how to, sort of how to use it, what you can use it with. But interesting enough, not just sort of doing it in text, he took these, what are really animated GIFs. This is why your browser don't be on a plane, don't be on GoGo trying to read this podcast or this blog post. See, I did it twice. That's 2 times.
You don't read podcasts.
Well,
I mean, you could.
I could. Remember, we transcribed a few of the original ones just
to see.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. But took these great big, really good-looking graphics that sort of show him doing the work. Now, there's no voice; it's not like a video, and he intentionally didn't want to do something like
a video.
A video. He wanted to be sort of more like he's going to say it, and then you can see it. So really interesting. on use cases. And yes, his stuff, he's all over this place, so it's not hard to figure out who it is. And he actually had to revise it. He posted it into the success community.
He did have to revise it.
Yep. And some people in the success community said, actually, you can do tasks.
Kind of upset at myself for not catching that, because I do remember the whole, use an action, and an action can kind of create anything. So
right.
I think the person who commented was a product manager.
Yeah, Salesforce.
And caught on that, maybe this isn't quite so clear.
Right.
Because you have create a record and you have the, perform an action, and
yep,
they're sort of almost the same thing.
I will say Lightning Process Builder is something that I want to dig into. In fact,
I've dug in.
Have you dug in?
I've dug in. I've used it now.
On a scale of 0 to awesome, where is it?
Now or where it's going to be?
No, now. I don't want to hear it. No safe harbors.
No safe harbors? It's really good.
Yeah.
It allows you to do things that you could never do without having to write code ever.
Right.
And it allows you to do some really, really cool stuff, crossing objects, summarizing things, moving lookups from one place to another, deleting records, creating records, some really... Now I said deleting records. That's when you start mixing it in with flow behind it, or visual workflow. And all these are flows. This is just a new front end to the visual workflow or flow engine.
Nice.
And I was actually reading a blog post this morning, and I wish I could remember the person's name so I could give them a shout out. I think it was on Salesforce Weekly, about like the secret way to get to the underlying flow.
The secret way?
Yeah, like it doesn't really show up as a flow. It's a process, but really it's just a flow under the covers.
Okay.
And there's a secret pathway to get there. I think it's by including them in a change set, so you can see them there, and then you can view the source of it and get sort of reverse your way back into seeing the flow. So if flow is intimidating, which it is a little bit, because it uses very different. It's not business analyst friendly. It uses terminology that is very developer friendly, but with a UI on it. It's a nice way to be able to learn, like, okay, this is how I built it in Process Builder, which is really friendly for me and easy, like workflow rules.
Right.
Here's what it did in the background.
Right.
And then you can sort of really start to understand it. I've seen some complaining about, since it is just using the Flow engine and Flow isn't bulkified, there being some issues.
Okay.
With, you still have to be careful around how many records you're going to be iterating over and doing things to, because if it hits up against a SOQL query limit or something like that, that's a limitation of Flow, and you're stuck.
Right.
You've got to then go back to reverting to Apex to try and solve the problem.
Right.
But I think it's great. I was able to build out something yesterday in our org for us in about 10 to 15 minutes that would normally have been a trigger. That would not have taken 10 to 15 minutes.
What was the use case?
The use case was when a record hit a certain condition, I wanted to delete all of the people who followed the record because it was old at that point and didn't need to be followed anymore.
Great use case for cases, for opportunities.
So it was a flow. I had to build a one-step flow, a delete record, and then call the flow from a process passing through the variable, which was the parent ID of the record from which I'm deleting the followers from.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, it only took about 10 to 15 minutes.
If you did it again, would it take less?
Yeah, probably about 5
minutes. Okay.
Like building a workflow rule.
Right. Yeah, it's a real. I mean, I don't want to say it's like a game changer, but it's a lot of stuff that we're
getting to change in the game.
You couldn't do before. That now I think your common answer of, well, you have to use I might be able to use the Lightning Process Builder to do that. So it's going to take a while for people to sort of get over that. You can't do X, and then it's like, ooh.
Yeah, we had that the other day with the client. We were trying to do something for Congo where the queries just were too intense.
Right.
And we needed data to just be somewhere where it wasn't.
Right.
and we thought about it, and we're like, oh, we're going to have to write a trigger or something. And then all of a sudden it just popped. It's like not the first thing we think about.
No, it's not.
So it's like, wait a minute. If we just write a process, can we move that over?
Right.
And we were able to move some data from point A to point B, and it just made the whole thing work.
Nice.
So it is going to be a big time game changer.
Great. What? Give me one thing that's missing right now that you're like, this is the thing that's missing.
Huh.
Because you said where it is now, or you made a.
Well, I think
you alluded to something being in the future.
I think that
bulkifying.
That bulkifying and running up against platform limitations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't often find myself running up against platform limitations when doing a workflow field update.
Right.
Right. I can run things through the data loader and update, 1,000 records at a time, and my workflow rule is still going to fire on all those records. That won't happen here. So I find that is still an issue. I also think there's still some speed issues with it. It's slow.
Right.
From screen to screen, it's slow.
Okay.
It takes a long time to load. And I also think and again, this is sort of the fact that it's tied to flow underneath the covers. There's this versioning thing where when you create a workflow rule, it's either active or inactive, right? And that's it. You're active or inactive.
Right.
This has different versions. So you create a flow, and as soon as you activate it, it's active. And then you can't really delete it. You just have to create a new version of it if you want to. Like, once you activate it, that's it. You can't edit it.
Huh.
You have to create a new version of the whole thing.
Ooh.
So I think that's a little counterintuitive, because when moving from workflow to process builder, you're going to have to change the way you think about a couple of things. And there's some evangelizing and teaching that needs to go on, in particular around actions, and now called quick actions, as opposed to what they were called previously publisher actions, because they don't have to be in the publisher anymore. They're just used in processes. So you have to sort of think through, like, oh, I can create a record. Well, how do I create a record? Well, you can create a record using an already defined action, or you can define the action and start mapping fields. I mean, it's really powerful stuff.
Cool.
But there's a learning curve there.
I definitely need to dig in. It's something that I've not sort of made on my...
I know they have like lightning specific
Trailhead, right?
There's Trailhead, and there's like dev orgs that you can set up around lightning.
I'll definitely go take a look at the example you did in our org.
Yeah, there's 2 of them in there I've done.
So next up is latest and late breaking news. I was actually reading it while you were talking, paying attention to you in depth.
That's good.
But also reading this so I could at least know what the heck we're going to talk about.
That's cool.
Which is the Salesforce and Microsoft news. They've announced 2 things sort of in a double press release. Always makes me think like they're trying to bury one if you announce them both at the same time.
Yeah.
I always feel like, 2 things are happening. Pay attention to this one. And so why don't you tell me all about them?
Well, one's on the Salesforce company blog.
Company blog?
Yeah, called Announcing Availability of the Salesforce app for Outlook. So when Spring rolled around, there was that setup area menu around email that said new.
Yeah.
I clicked on that, and I didn't know what that was.
What is this?
Well, it turns out it's the connection between Salesforce and Exchange, and the ability to have Salesforce the new Salesforce for Outlook. There's no client installation. You don't have to install anything on the client.
Nice.
So it runs in the Office, like the web app, the Outlook web Office 365 version.
Right.
And you just grab it as an app from the Office or the Office 365 store, and you just install it right into the environment. On the Salesforce side, you check a box.
Right.
On the Microsoft side, you go in, you install the app. There's one for sandbox, one for production, and you basically say who should use it, and then hit save, and it's there.
Do you need to use Exchange to have this to work?
I believe you do.
So it's still Exchange-based Outlook. It's not just Outlook.
Correct.
Okay. Because I was thinking, ooh, we could try this, but we don't really have Exchange. Although we do have
try
Office
it.
365.
We have Office 365.
But it doesn't come with Exchange.
Doesn't come with email.
That's an
stuff.
extra.
That's
you
an
can
extra.
add that on. So we could try it.
You know, I've seen now the demo of this where the person is using the web app, the web mail,
Right.
And all of a sudden there's the mail, the actual email, and then there's a little Salesforce link that's sitting there underneath the to line of the email,
Right.
and you click on it and it slides open a pane, and basically it's Lightning components just sitting in there. It looks just like the mobile app.
Nice.
And it's all the people, so the people who are involved in the email, whether they be a contact, a lead, or a user. So it'll bring up like the Salesforce user. And if they don't exist inside of Salesforce, that's also made readily apparent, and you can create the contact from right there within the application, presumably using an action.
Right.
Right. So this is all part of Lightning. It surfaces the accounts and the opportunities or cases that are associated with
Nice.
the people.
No
So that's
custom.
also very nice.
No custom anything yet.
Did not see anything about custom objects. That would be really nice. Also didn't see activities, which the current Salesforce for Outlook does.
Right.
I didn't see that in the video, in the demonstration. It's really, there's two videos out there. There's the setup video, which really looks like it couldn't be any easier. And then there's the video of the demo of it, which is like a minute and a half of just a summary of how it works.
Right.
Looks really cool. No software to install, which is great. You just control it from inside of Salesforce and inside of the Office 365 console.
So it kind of does away with the left side panel.
Yeah, it's a replacement for the side panel.
And it's a little bit more, like in some ways you're in an email and I'm now watching the video. I'm watching videos and reading while listening to you. Well, what you're saying makes sense now that I watch it. It does sort of have this little, if you're figuring you're looking at your email, it's sort of what you can expand out this little thing above the email, so below the headers but above the body. And then there's a lot of Salesforce stuff in there, and it can look up stuff based on the email address of the person too and the other CCs. It's kind of cool. Like it looks definitely Salesforce 1E.
Yeah, it's Lightning. It's definitely just Lightning components.
It looks extensible. Like it looks like you could then add in some stuff definitely in the future. You can pop right into Salesforce. It looks nice. Looks nice. I could see it for people who like, I don't want to install stuff and I'm more moving to 365 because again, people are in theory moving away from hardware-based applications and running things on the hardware and moving it all into the browser. And I know that Microsoft's making a big play on this. In fact, just as a little side weird note, since we're going down the Microsoft, their Office 365 product to compete with Google, right? Because Google offers their Google Apps for Enterprise, some small amount of money per month, and you get all the stuff. You get Docs, you get this and that. So then Microsoft saying, okay, well, we can do that. Let's do Microsoft 360 for business. I think it's like $8 a month. And you get all their web apps. You get Web Outlook, Web Word, Web Excel, Web PowerPoint, I think, and Web maybe OneNote,
OneNote.
Yeah, OneNote, okay. But the neat thing that they do that kind of sweeten the pot is allow you to download it. So you can both use all the web stuff, but then download all the apps, the full-on apps, not only to one platform, but to both and the iOS platform. So you can, with one 365 license, you can use all the web stuff. This is $9 a month. Use all the web stuff, download it to your PC, download it to your Mac, and download it and use the full versions on the iPad and iPhone. And then I assume all the other places that they are. That's pretty good. That's kind of, because we as people who love the web and love the cloud, and I love Sheets, and I've actually really gotten to love Sheets. But when I got to do something powerful, I'm not using Sheets because it still can't, from what I can tell, handle what Excel can handle. Even Excel on the Mac feels like a dumbed down version of Excel on the PC side. But
slower, that's for sure.
But to have all that power, and for one license, it's not bad. That's really, it's almost devaluing the hard. These things used to cost $400 for the Office suite, each one. You have to buy it for the Mac, buy it for the PC, and then whatever the version is. So, kind of interesting. And they're crossing the worlds. They now save to iCloud Drive, so they're not playing in their own sandbox. Like, oh, you want to use iCloud Drive to save your stuff? Sure, we'll save to iCloud Drive. It's kind of interesting how these things are, how they're battling back. So, well, that's cool. So this is not a replacement for the app, right? For the installable app. This is sort of the next version as they go towards their web.
Yeah, I think it's still in beta too, so use it your own
Now,
risk.
what else did they announce?
Well, this was on the Wall Street Journal, so it's interesting.
I guess.
The headline was Salesforce and Microsoft invest in InsideSales.com at $1.5 billion valuation, which does not mean that they invested $1.5 billion, but it means that's what they value it at when they made their investment. So, a rather interesting joint investment, right? So
right.
Microsoft and Salesforce furthering this announced partnership that they made almost a year ago, and now co-investing in products that integrate with both platforms.
Right.
So it's like, all right, this makes sense. It's kind of an interesting dynamic with Salesforce and Microsoft, where they're playing nice all of a sudden after all those years of not playing nice. And now they're, I guess, new leadership at Microsoft, brand new vision, totally
right.
different vision of the world. And now they're playing nice with each other and even co-investing in things.
So I don't know outright. I don't know inside sales. The only thing I know about it is, one, they announced a big Microsoft Dynamics product the other day. Two, I've seen a lot of Salesforce people leaving, former Salesforce people, some pretty big wigs in Salesforce moving to inside sales. Other than that, nothing about them. And I'm now looking at their pricing page, and I'm like, ooh, that's expensive. Yeah. Now this is the three. I mean, their low version's $125 per user per month. That's the base. And this says pricing for Salesforce editions only. So I'm assuming that's not. Is that a Salesforce license? Is that on top of a Salesforce license?
I really don't know.
We don't know anything about it.
I think it's for
next call.
From what I understand, it's all about inbound calls and managing calls. I guess inbound and outbound. It's like a soft phone plus.
It's gamification,
not just a phone,
right? I thought it was predictive selling and all sorts of stuff like that.
They have a $1.5 billion valuation. Maybe we should learn a thing or two about them.
Maybe we should. Next week on CloudFocus Weekly,
we learn about stuff.
Maybe not. I'm just looking at Power Dialer. More than a dialer, more than an app. An integrated system, contact, connect, and close more deals. Okay. Yeah, so it's like an app exchange product piece that does some predictive stuff and Power Dialer. Yep, don't know anything about it. Gonna sound dumber as I keep talking, so gonna stop now. So I got the notice the other day, speaking on this whole thing, that Connect for Outlook, the old plugin,
super duper old one,
got the hey kids, it's going away soon.
Oh really?
By soon I mean winter 16, which is
pretty soon.
That's in 9 months.
Yeah,
enough time to have a baby, enough time to replace Connect for Outlook.
Not the next release, but the one after that.
Yeah,
so you've got one release cycle to prepare.
Yeah, Connect for Outlook. So the actual
that is super old though.
I know people still use it.
Yeah, because it did like one or two things, but I feel like that sidebar really, really kills it.
Yeah, I forgot there's one or two things. Oh, you know where it works that other things don't work.
Tell me.
Virtual environments.
Oh, is that
it's like when you do a Citrix virtual desk.
Yeah.
Right? We don't use this software, but I've heard from our customers, Outlook doesn't work because you have a virtual desktop, not a real one. So when this installs, the old one installs as like part of the package, so it can install. Yeah, so it kind of worked within it. That Outlook does not work, and officially doesn't. Like if you go look up their help, it says, yeah, we don't work. I think it's Citrix, whatever. Right. And a lot of places use that as a way of having people VPN in. You don't VPN in with your computer. You just go into a web browser and then take over a desktop, and it's a virtual desktop. Kind of an interesting way of doing it. So that is gone, baby, gone girl, in a while. All right, so that's our show for today. Next time, before we get on to our CloudFocus app picks of the week, I came across this article, which now actually was down, so I took a copy of it that I can then throw up and we can look at.
You're gonna throw up?
I'm gonna throw up.
Ew.
Couldn't get to the. I went to try to get the.
I was just looking at it.
Yeah, you looking at the version that I cached? That's the cache version.
Oh, that's the cache version?
Yeah, the actual version.
I was looking at the cache version.
So it's called 9 Truths That Computer Programmers Know That Most People Don't. A couple of them that are kind of fun. I think it'd be fun to talk
I wonder
about.
why it was taken down.
I don't know.
There was some cursing in it.
No, that might not be why. It might be. But it's on like some
Yeah.
dude's website. It wasn't like
It was
on...
more just fun stuff for us to riff on.
Right. That's what we're going to do next week.
We are good at riffing.
We're going to riff. Speaking of riffs,
Yeah.
give me some CloudFocus app pick of the week.
So
love.
I'm going to go back in the Wayback Machine.
And pick something you've already picked?
Nope.
Okay.
And pick the tool, just in case people go back and read the Lightning Process Builder blog post.
So once again, using other people's ideas for your own picks.
This is my style. So
It's your jam.
moving lightning fast, when you're reading that blog post and you're saying, wow, I really like these moving images. That is really cool. How did they do that?
Moving images?
Yes. Motion pictures?
Talkies? Are they the talkies?
Yes.
Okay, then.
Alrighty. So it was done using a product called Record It. And the website is recordit.co.
And it's a downloadable app?
Yes, you download it for Mac or Windows.
Nice.
It sits in your little system tray bar, I guess, depending on what platform you're
Right.
on, Mac or Windows. You click on to the icon and you say record. And then you draw with your mouse an area of your screen that you want to start recording.
Right.
Then you click back onto that little button and say, start or record or whatever.
Start or record or
and then
whatever.
it starts recording whatever's happening within the window that you've drawn. And when you're done, you go back to that thing and say stop. It then saves it, and
Okay.
it saves it. Now, depending on what version you're on, we use the free version. It saves it, and you can just go grab it. It has a link to it right there in the app. You go out to their webpage, you click on a button to turn it into a GIF, and then it gives you an URL. And you can then use it to embed it anywhere you would like to.
Oh, it's not bad.
Has some integrations with like Twitter and stuff like that if you really are interested in that kind of stuff. But really quick, easy way to do richer screenshots. Let's put
Okay.
it that way, right? That's what these are. They're richer screenshots. We could have put up a bunch of screenshots for how to do an easy Lightning process.
Right.
Or we can just do one that moves,
Right.
which is easier.
It does produce very big
Big files.
Big files. So
Anyway, it's free unless you upgrade, which you can.
Right.
Not quite sure what you get for the upgrade, but whatever.
something.
Cross-platform, which is nice.
That's true.
And, I don't know the company that makes it. I'm just going to go ahead and guess Record It is the company too. But it is at, like I said, Record It, all one word, .co, not .com. I wonder why they didn't do record.it, but whatever. That's
Record.it.
no. Well, that's what I would have thought it would have been. But it's
Right.
recordit.co.
Apparently, there's lots of new. There's a new domain that
Yeah.
everybody's having fun with.
What is it?
SUCKS.
Oh, that is a cool one.
.SUCKS.
I'm gonna get Jason Atwood.
Yes, you can do that. Maybe go for Jason M. Atwood because that'd be the one I use. All right, great.
That'd be a fun email.
Yes.
Like your name at
Yes.
sucks.com. That'd be really funny.
Yes.
I guess that's not how it works.
No.
Be like Jason.Atwood.
All right. So I've been
sucks.
doing lots of not paying attention to you.
Yeah, you're just not even trying to
That's
pay.
awesome.
You're not even trying to hide it either.
Because I'm doing something that I'm actually doing.
Are you
something
playing a game?
I'm doing something for you.
Oh, are you
is
playing a
good.
game?
No, I'm not. So my pick of the week is something we were discussing last night.
I love when things just come around like that.
Suggested to me by a friend that when we were talking about Kindle and ebooks and audiobooks, in fact, I had suggested to you that you go read Collision Low Crossers, of course, which you said, well, I don't read. And I said, well, then you can get the audiobook. And you said, oh, I went to go buy it. And we were talking about Audible and how Audible's still kind of expensive. And so I was like, oh, but my friend of mine suggested this thing that allows you to use the library system, because libraries have ebooks, crazy, and libraries have audiobooks, crazy. But how do you get them? So there's a app called Overdrive, and it's actually a website, an app, and it is a little convoluted, but once you set it up, it's pretty good. So it's an app. You establish a account with Overdrive. Then I'm just trying to give it to you so you can see it.
Give it to me.
So
give me.
So you establish with Overdrive, but then you have to have a valid library card.
I have one of those.
And remember your PIN. Probably you don't, but maybe you do.
For the library card, a PIN?
There's a PIN for the library card.
Who knew that?
Well, that's what you're going to have to get. I actually used my PIN that I always use, so I was like, ooh, that worked.
Maybe that'll happen.
So then you go into
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You go and you go into Overdrive. You set an account. Then you go in and you add a library. I have the Queens Library because that's where we live, right?
Me too. I have the Queens County Library.
And then you can go in and search for
books.
And download both books that'll go to your Kindle
and audiobooks. That'll just sit in this app.
So
do they have the one we were talking about?
I didn't look for that one. Which one was it?
Here,
I was so busy doing.
Oh, I wanted explicit.
I wanted to show you. So I got Al Gore's The Future, whatever. I just downloaded it. See if it would come down. It downloads to your app. It sits within this app, and now I'm listening
Luckily, we had Al Gore to make all that happen.
That's right. Al Gore made it happen. So then it's like an audio whatever book.
Well, now I'm going to play with it.
There you go. So it's called Overdrive. It's called Library eBooks and Audiobooks. Now, that's the audiobook. The audiobook sits within the app. You can play with it. You can do it there.
Where do I search for stuff?
I think you have to go to the library to search for stuff. No, I think you have to go to the library to search for things.
There we go.
Right.
In the library.
Yep. And you get into the library.
I'm in the library.
All right.
Search. There we go. I'm going to look for it. You talk.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I can't. Me talkie. So I did the audiobook. The audiobook sits.
Oh, no results. Boo.
The audiobook sits within the app. Now I did a Kindle book. I'm like, well, how does that work? Does that have to sit in the app? It doesn't. It actually then. This is what I just did this on this one. It's a little weird. I went in, I rented, because again, it's a library system, so there's only so many. If it's not available, you have to put yourself on a list.
Well, that's just silly for a digital download.
Well,
come along now.
No, because you think about it, the
publisher sells only.
They would have given them 5 books.
So they get 5 ebooks.
That's correct.
Don't like it, but all right.
Well,
broken
whatever.
Model.
It's still free.
Broken model.
You're not paying for it.
Model's broken.
Okay. So the ebook is the same way. You can go in, you can see if it's available, you can take it, and you do have time, so you only have it for, like, this thing's 21 days. I have this audiobook. I don't know what happens at the end of 21 days.
Your whole entire phone explodes.
Do I have to return it?
Your phone explodes.
I just shake my phone, and it goes back into the cloud.
You're going to get alerts, notifications. Return the book.
I guess.
Return it now.
I don't know, so we'll see.
But I'm not done.
Well, let me tell you about the audiobook, the Kindle book.
You're not done yet?
No, I'm telling you what happens. So you can then go in for the Kindle book. You can say, what do you want to download it as? EPUB, which is an open standard, or Kindle. And then when you do it to the Kindle, it actually sends you over to Amazon. You log into your Kindle account, and then you can choose which Kindle you're sending it to. So I send it to my Paperwhite, my Kindle account, and then that's what will show up. And then I have it for that much time. This is pretty good because audiobooks are expensive. They could be $20, $30. And if you could find 1 or 2 for free, or Kindle books, and read them for free, it's pretty good. I'm not saying it replaces buying them, because I actually like buying them, but maybe there's the ones that you know, an audiobook. The other thing about audiobooks is you generally don't listen to an audiobook more than once. Or do you go back and look at your audiobook collection? Like, look at my collection of audiobooks. Isn't it grand?
Maybe.
Not really.
Leather-bound audiobooks.
So it's called Overdrive. It's at overdrive.com. It is free, the app.
As it should be.
It is.
Just
and
an
the books and
extension of the
stuff you can
library.
get, it's weird. The way it works, it's a little weird because you have the app and then you have your libraries. So you could have library cards from more than one place. So maybe you go in to join the New York City Library, which would have a bigger collection than the Queens Library.
How dare you?
Right. Yeah. So overdrive.com, free. Check it out. It takes a little setup. Like, give yourself 20 minutes and know all of your stuff. All right. So that gets us over for today. We're still recording, which is great. You can follow us at Twitter, at Just Edelstein, at Jason M. Atwood, at Arkus Inc. And then we're on Facebook, facebook.com/Arkus Inc. We're on the Success Community Group, which is within Salesforce. If you have a Salesforce license, you can log into success.salesforce.com and enjoy that. You can go in and find the CloudFocus Weekly group. You can see it. We post stuff in there. We're also, of course, on LinkedIn and Google+. Now, if you like the podcast, first of all, you should be subscribed. If you're not subscribed, I don't know how you're listening to this, but you should be subscribed on some. I'm now using Downcast. You're still on Instacast. There's a million ways to listen to podcasts nowadays. But you should subscribe. And subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher. Stitcher is also another app that does that. But we'd love to see a review, so leave a review. So, Dad, go in there. Leave a review on iTunes.
Yeah.
Why are you not doing that?
Come on.
Yeah, come on.
Let's go.
And until next week, we'll be back. We'll talk about the nine truths that computer programmers
Tell them what to enjoy.
Most people don't.
Hit them with the truth.
And until then, Justin and Jason saying, enjoy those cloudy